Savior Outdoors gives me confidence that no matter what happens, what I take on the water is coming back home with me. With retrieval devices for fishing rods, bow fishing bows, action cams, and even one that can be attached to your other gear, they've got your whole arsenal covered. When one of these devices goes in a drink, it releases a float attached to your gear by 60 feet of line so you can get it back, and the pressure-sensitive filter means that you don't have to worry about raining or dips in the water while landing a fish. At SaviorOutdoors.com, that's SAVUR Outdoors.com, you can use promo code FNFP15 to save 15% and try them for yourself. Hey y'all, welcome back to the Faith and Fishing podcast. This is going to be a little bit different of an episode. We are not going to be doing Learn from My Mistake or Product Spotlight or What You're Reading this time. This is just going to be a bonus episode. It's going to be a similar interview, but I wanted to make sure that I got this one out in time for y'all to participate in the autism awareness campaign that our guest has going on. If you are watching on YouTube, you can see this awesome shirt right here. You'll be seeing it on both myself and our guest. So our guest this time is that bass fishing dude, Mr. Brandon Hayes. Brandon is he's the tallest bass angler in the world, as far as we know. He is 7 feet tall, and every time I see him holding up a fish, I have to remind myself that that is Brandon, and that is actually a fish that is as big as he says it is. Because if it were me holding it up, it would look a lot different. But let's go ahead and get Brandon in here. But before we do that, let me go ahead and thank the sponsors of our show. So we have Savior Outdoors, Get Outdoors Pedal and Paddle, Jade's Jigs, Quail Ridge Books, Mr. B Lure Company, and Atollis. So make sure you check the All Things Faith and Fishing link in the show notes to get to those sponsor links, and in that link it will have the promo codes there for you. So make sure you take advantage of that. So let's go ahead and let's get Brandon in here. Brandon, man, welcome to the show.
Hey, man, how's it going? How you doing?
Absolutely. So doing well, man. Hope you are. First of all, thank you for coming on the show. And to get us started, tell us who Brandon Hayes is. Kind of introduce yourself to our listeners and give us the lowdown.
No worries, man. So it's Brandon Mays, M-A-Y-E-S, Mays Hayes.
What did I say?
Hayes.
It's all good. No. I was
listening to
the Talk podcast today.
No, it happens all the time. So my name is Brandon, Brandon Mays. I'm originally from Central Texas, born and raised. I was in the military for 10 years. I got injured in Afghanistan and Iraq, my first and second deployment. I got medically retired back in 2013. From there, I've done a lot of different things for therapy. I suffer from PTSD and other things. And over the last few years, fishing has been something that's been very, very therapeutic for me. And through my fishing, I've made a lot of strides in the outdoor space, growing a relatively large social media following, and building a platform that focuses on giving back to the community, especially the special needs community. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been a really interesting thing to be able to accomplish over the last few years. I'm a kayak angler. That's something that a lot of people probably would not think that a person of my stature would absolutely be doing, but absolutely love kayak fishing. Fell in love with it about 2.5 years ago, and I'm a big fan and fanatic of the paddle sports community. So I've got a saying that paddle sports is life, because it really is. It changes a lot of people's lives. It saves people's lives as well. So yeah, man, just out here enjoying and doing what I do, man, making things happen.
Absolutely. And you work very closely with one of our guests that we had on recently, Charlie Wells. So big shout out to him.
Yeah, Charlie is actually my best friend. It's a solid dude, man.
Absolutely. So yeah, you've been making the rounds on the podcast lately. I've gotten to hear you on the Paddle and Fin OG show, Bass Kayak and Beers. With our good friends Brian and Armando. Love those guys.
Yes, sir.
But Yeah, so you've kind of been making the rounds talking about the autism awareness campaign that you have going on, and that's one of the main reasons that I wanted to get you on so early, so that we had a little bit of time left, because that goes through the end of this month. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this will hopefully this should go up tonight on the podcast platforms and hopefully YouTube. Um, so that means that you'll have, if you're listening to it the night it comes out, you'll have 4 days left. So make sure that you are taking advantage of that. Links will be in the show notes. But yeah, so go ahead and give us the introduction on what that is, what your campaign is, and then we'll go from there.
Cool. Yeah. So about 3 years ago, well, actually, yes, 3 years ago exactly. This is the third year that we've been doing this autism campaign. Um, so I work for Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. That's actually my day job. I work in the information security field, cybersecurity, and so my company, the headquarters, is actually just really cool building. It's all this really cool stuff in there. And there's a person that works at the office with us that's on the spectrum. And he came from this organization that's called Austen's Autistic Adventures, which is a local nonprofit that's based right here in DFW, that supports young adults and teens on the autism spectrum. So how I got involved with Austen's Autistic Adventures is through Joseph. Whenever I first started working at Cane's, and I met Joseph, I started asking around. I was like, where did Joseph come from? How did Joseph get started working here? And they're like, oh, he came from this organization. Well, it just so happened like 2 or 3 months later, they were actually up there doing an office tour. And again, our office is really cool. We got all kinds of crazy stuff in there: disco balls and scooters and all the sodas and snacks you can eat and drink. And there's just loud, pumping music, pumping through every speaker in the house. And it's a lot of fun. It's a really cool place to work. Everybody has a smile on their face, stress-free environment. And so, that's whenever, they were up there doing an office visit, an office tour. And I met Jamie, the founder of that organization. And we got to chit-chatting and talking about the org and, talking about Joseph and, talking about my son. My son has autism. He's on the spectrum. He's 15 years old. And so we've dealt with, autism and its effects for years. And, even prior to all of this, I've worked with special needs kids via the Special Olympics, volunteering with Special Olympics, coaching in Special Olympics, and all that different stuff, all the way back to my days in the Army. So, this is something that I've been involved with for a really long time. Been very passionate about it for decades, at this point, or over a decade at this point. And so, got talking to Jamie about this organization, and I was like, man, I would really love to find a way to help raise some funding for you guys. And again, I had, my platform wasn't super huge at the time, but the thing about the TBFD gang is that they're dedicated. And that's one of the great things I love about being in this position and being able to do what I do, is that I do have a very loyal fan base. And so I was like, man, how can I do this? How can I make this the most beneficial for them and have fun with it at the same time? And that's whenever I thought about it, I was like, I'll do a t-shirt campaign. And we'll create a custom t-shirt and we'll sell this t-shirt on my website. And 100% of the profits that we make from this t-shirt we'll donate to the organization. So the very first year that we did this 3 years ago, the campaign, basically, we do the campaign and we run the campaign basically through the entire month of April. April is Autism Awareness Month. So that's why the significance of the month of April is so important for the t-shirt campaign. So the very first year that we did the campaign, we raised $1,000 for the organization. So, the first year out the gate, $1,000. And I, just absolutely floored, super excited about this. We sold a really cool t-shirt and, helped provide a lot of support for that organization. And, the thing about it is that, every dollar that goes to that organization counts for something. They do everything from social events. So that's really what the organization is really about, is providing social experiences for children or young adults and teens on the spectrum. Because if you're not familiar with autism, ASD, it's a social disorder, so they're the people that are affected by autism are very, very non-social, in most cases. They're some are, severely autistic, they're non-verbal, that they don't communicate or talk or anything like that. And then you have some that are the complete opposite. They do talk and they're very verbal. They're high functioning, you have low functioning, have all these different aspects of autism. So that was one of the things about this organization that was so cool, is that they work with a little bit of everyone, and the big thing about it is providing these social experiences for them to put them out, to give them an opportunity to be a part of a normal social environment around them, and to introduce not only them to the world, but the world to them, and what the effects of autism actually look like. So we raised $1,000 for the first year, and that money that's raised, they use that money to do things like cooking classes, social events. They go out to amusement parks, all these other different things, to provide a safe social outlet for the members of this organization. So every single one of those outings costs on average about $25 to $30. So whenever you think about that as a whole, every $25 to $30 raised, you're providing one opportunity for one member of the organization to go out and have a social experience. So first year we raised $1,000. Second year, I did another custom t-shirt, and every year the shirt is completely different. So last year we did a different shirt. That shirt raised $22.50 for the organization. And then one of my brand partners, Private Water Fishing, they actually matched our donation amount, which brought our grand total for last year to $4,500. So you talk about crazy excited. That was absolutely awesome, completely unexpected. And that all came about whenever we started doing our second piece to this whole entire thing, which we started last year, which is the TVFD Gang Autism Day on the Water, which is where we take the organization out and we provide an opportunity for them to be introduced to paddle sports and fishing. So we put on this huge event last year. Private Water Fishing put us up on a private lake. Austen Canoe and Kayak brought 12 kayaks up. We had, food was provided by NRS. We had sweet tea and lemonade provided by Raising Cane's, my company. And we had 50 people show up to this event. We had basically 12 kids, their parents, and basically immediate family, all showed up to this event. And, you're talking about kids that have never seen a kayak, never been on a kayak. Most people that have autism have very, very poor motor skills. So you're talking about kids that, again, they have terrible balance, all kinds of stuff, But these kids jumped on these kayaks. They were excited about it. That's all they talked about. Oh, I want to go on a kayak. Whenever they heard about it, they were like, oh my God, I want to get on the kayak. They showed up ready to rock and roll. Got them, suited up PFDs, gave them a quick little safety brief, and boom, we start putting kids on kayaks. And we're out there on the water with them in the kayaks. And these kids took to it like a duck to water. It was the coolest thing on the planet, man. Literally the coolest thing ever. And, they were so excited about this. And, after everybody ate, we did the little big check presentation for the, the money we raised for the t-shirt. And that's whenever Private Water Fishing decided to match our donation on the spot. It was just crazy. But, really, really thankful for them for doing that. And, so now we roll into this year, new t-shirt campaign with, the new t-shirt that we're rocking this year. And, we set a monetary goal of $5,000 was what we wanted to raise from selling t-shirts this year. And we're on track, man. We are really knocking this thing out of the water this year. And we're still going to do the day on the water again this year. And I'm actually looking forward to that. We're in the process of planning that out right now. That's going to be the first weekend of June. And, it's just been a lot of fun, man. It's really been just this wild and awesome journey, man, to see all of this stuff kind of come together and, to talk to the organization and see, and get feedback from them about what they're wanting to do and things that they're thinking about and finding new ways to help them. And, a lot of people probably think, well, there's so many different autism organizations out there, Autism Speaks and, all these other ones that are out there. Why Austen's Autistic Adventures? And the reality of it is yeah, we could have partnered with, some big national organization, Autism Speaks. There's a couple other really big ones out there that, cover basically everybody across the country. But the reality of it is that, those companies get millions of dollars in funding on a yearly basis. And, the money that we would raise for them would be a very small drop in the bucket. And we would never be able to see that money get put to use. There's no telling when or where that money gets used. Not saying that there's anything wrong with those organizations or anything like that. But we chose Austen's Autistic Adventures because it's local, right here in my neighborhood, in my community. And it gives us an opportunity to see those dollars immediately go to work. And that was what was important to me, is being able to put money in somebody's hands, funding in the organization's hands, and letting them use that money the way that they need to. And we get to actually physically see that money go to work. And another great thing about it is that it's an organization that my own son can benefit from, because again, it's local, it's right here.
Yeah, for sure.
So, that's a big part of it for us, man. It's really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's for sure. So, somebody wants to get involved, or wants to purchase a T-shirt. The link is scrolling here at the bottom for those of you watching on YouTube, and again, links will be in the show notes. But yeah, the designs are awesome this year. I didn't get to see the designs the previous years. This is the first time I've been involved in the Instagram fishing world at this time of year. So, what all goes into the designs? Are you the one who does the designing for that?
So I do in some cases, and then sometimes we contract the artwork out to others, to other people to get it drawn. So I always have an idea. So it always starts from an idea, and then that idea is kind of a collaborative effort between myself. My son gets involved, like he was involved in the first year's artwork, and I'll find like a really cool artist. Excuse me. I'll find like a really cool artist, and find out if it's something that they want to help with. And usually everybody is always like, man, dude, heck yeah, on board. Obviously we pay them for this artwork and stuff like that. But, this year I actually reached out to a person to have them do the artwork for this year. I said, I wanted to do something, with around, kayak fishing, because I'm a kayak angler. And, so, he was like, oh man, perfect idea, got it. So kayak, and then I was like, this is the slogan for this year, is that I want to use, see the able, not the label. And last year's quote was, why fit in when you were born to stand out? And it was this really cool artwork for last year. Was a wolf pack of bass that was like swimming through the water, and like they all had these really crazy, they're like bursting out of the front of the shirt almost, but it's not like, they're not actually busting out, but it's just like the perspective of them. They got all these really cool lateral lines, and then one of them in particular has, a really different lateral line from everybody else. Like his lateral line is just a bunch of puzzle pieces all the way down the side of his body. And it's, the quote, why fit in when you were born to stand out? Because the reality of it is they were born to stand out. They were born to be different,
Absolutely.
And so, this year, we wanted to do something around kayak fishing. So, you got the cross paddles, and which is signature to my own personal logo, because I'm a kayak angler. You got my big paddler logo, which is basically my face, but it's a skull, and got the big cross paddles, crossbones behind, big pirate flag. That's basically what it looks like. But then you got the kayak in the middle, because we're kayak anglers, and you got the kid holding up this big old bass, and the whole body silhouette of the child is basically puzzle pieces, and the heart in the middle of it. And it was just something that it was like this idea just again pops in our head, and when you work with really great artists, they have a really good tendency of being able to take your idea and bringing it to life. And our artist this year, actually, he knocked it out of the park, man. When I saw the artwork, when he sent it back to me, I was like, dude, this is it. This is exactly what I was looking at in my head. Yeah. He knocked it out of the park, man.
That's awesome. Yeah, your artwork has always been on point. Like you said, your logo with the big beard and uh, the the paddles behind it. That's yeah, it's a killer logo, man. Um, but
Thank
yeah, um, so we got to can't bring you on here without talking a little bit about about fishing and about what we believe. So I know you are not a particularly religious person, and but what is it? What is it about being on the water? Because I know even people who are not religious typically think of fishing as a spiritual experience. So what is it about being on the water that is so special to you?
Man, it's an outlet, from the day to day everything. I mean, it's the world that we live in today is definitely not the world that I grew up in. It's completely just nutty on all levels. Whenever you look at it from basically every perspective you can possibly think of it from, every lens you look at it through, the world is crazy, man. There is something going on everywhere, and you know just the ability to get out here on the water and seek and chase these different adventures, man, and to be around, like-minded individuals that are there for the same exact thing, because when you think about it, something that just with my platform in general is like I've always really stayed focused around being neutral to everything, political beliefs, your people's religion, whatever it may be, race, all of that kind of stuff. I'm not concerned with any of that stuff. At the end of the day, what I'm concerned about with is fishing, and everything that I do is for the love of fishing. I don't care who you voted for or who you didn't vote for, who you like, who you don't like. I don't care what color you are, red, green, blue, yellow, purple. I don't care what you believe in as far as God or whatever, or if you don't, that doesn't make a difference to me. It's all about, do you love the outdoors as much as I do? And do you want to be out here and experience the outdoors like I do? And, my goal is to inspire people to get out here and seek and chase those adventures in the outdoors, because there is something special about being out here on the water. Even, when you're not catching fish, just being out here and being able to escape the craziness of the world. It's the only place in the world that's just neutral, where there's just nothing going on, where you can be out there and just be free to think and be the way you want to be. And that's what's special for me. It's just a lot of fun, man. I've loved fishing since the day I started fishing. It's always just been like this amazing thing for me.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a perfect segue. One of the questions that I always ask all of my guests is what fishing story or memory means the most to you?
Dude, I got so many fishing memories and stories, man. I have one of my earliest fishing memories is fishing with my dad and my mom. When I was a kid, we grew up out on Belton Lake. So I'm originally from Temple, Texas, which is Central Texas, and we grew up on Belton Lake and Stillhouse Hollow Lake. And we used to fish this area of Belton Lake. Belton Lake is this. I mean, when you think about Central Texas, Belton Lake is not the kind of lake that you would think would be in Central Texas. I mean, it's just this huge, like hard bottom lake, big old bluff walls, just crazy scenic lake. It's just a really, really nice lake. Clear water, as deep as all get out, 150 plus feet deep, just crazy. And then, on one of the far ends of the lake, you have the Leon River that feeds into the lake. And we used to fish over on the Leon River a lot. And again, it's still big rocky bluff walls and all kinds of crazy stuff over there. It's just the water is just not as clear. So we, as a kid, I didn't actually have like a fishing pole. It's like my dad had all the poles, my mom had poles. And typically I was like this explorer. We would go out and we would be fishing, and I'm walking up and down the bank finding all kinds of crazy lures that people had left behind, hard bait, soft plastics, fishing line, hooks, you name it. I would find all this stuff. So, I would come back and, I'd have all this stuff that I had found. I was probably 6 or 7 years old. I wasn't like, over 10 or anything like that, but definitely smart, old enough to know what was going on around me. So, I had come back and my dad and my mom are out there fishing. They got 10 fishing poles in the line. It's just lined up down the bank, because you're just worm fishing. You throw a line out there, sit and wait. And so I had come back. I had found like this giant spool of fishing line and a couple hooks and all this other crap. And so I went and found a stick because I wanted to fish too. So I went and found this stick. This nice size stick. It's probably 3, 4, 5 feet long, fairly straight, with not a bunch of limbs hanging off of it. And I took that fishing line. I found good 8, 9, 10 foot section of it that wasn't all kinked up. Tied it to the end of the stick. And then I put a hook on the other end of the fishing line that my dad had given me. And then I put a piece of worm on there. And I basically just hung this off of the edge of this bluff wall. That was basically where we were all sitting down and hanging out. And no kidding, man, like I'm sitting there maybe 5-10 minutes and that stick just ding, like almost rips it completely out of my hand. And my dad, my mom and my dad hadn't caught anything. We had been out there 2-3 hours, hadn't caught a single thing, not a single bite. And this stick is just going crazy in my hand. I'm like, because it doesn't have a reel on it. So I'm basically like just like cane poling this thing. And the pole is just going crazy. Man, my dad is like, what is that? I was like, it's a fish. I don't know. And my dad's like, get it up on the bank. So I'm like trying to lift it up this 8-foot bluff wall. Man, he comes over there to help me pull this thing up on top of that bluff wall, man, up on top of the bank, dude. And I'm not kidding. It was like a 6-7 pound catfish, just a huge channel cat. And my dad lost his mind over that fish, man. He was like, Brandon, are you serious? He said, we've been out here all day. And this one, you got a stick over here going crazy about it. I'm losing it because I'm just like, man, I've never seen a fish this big in my life, But that's one of the earliest memories that I can think of, man. Whenever I did, we had a lot of fun, man, as a kid growing up. Fishing is a lot of fun.
That's awesome. That's what makes your social media and videos so freaking compelling. You are a phenomenal storyteller, man.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I mean that's always been the focus. Is like is again telling the stories, and I won't say that it's always been the focus because in the beginning, when I first started doing this, I had a completely different mindset. Like I was like, oh, I want to be a YouTuber. I'm gonna do this, and this. But I quickly realized, after about a month and a half of really trying to do that it wasn't really what I wanted to do. And it was just crazy because, when all of this started again, I was like, oh, I want to be a YouTuber. And how I even got started in the bass fishing space in general is, I had gotten out of the military. I had done all this different stuff as far as hobbies, everything woodworking, to messing with cars, all kinds of stuff. I've always been somebody that works really well with my hands. I'm a tinkerer kind of person. And, I was in college after I got out of the military, and a really good friend of mine, I found out he was a bass fisherman. And I was like, because I had, this is right around the time when the Guggen Squad, before they turned into what they are, they weren't even close to this, what they are now. But I watched this video from Justin Rackley. I think he was still in college when I saw this video, or he wasn't still in college, but the video that he was from when he was in college. And it was like one of his earlier videos. And he was fishing this pond that was right up here behind me, right up here somewhere near me. And he's throwing around a fire tiger chatterbait with a Lake Fork trophy lure swim bait on the back of it. Again, I'll never forget this because it's literally the thing that was like that piqued my interest. And he's like bombing this thing across this pond, and he's like, there's like this sticky grass line right all the way around the pond edge. He's running that chatterbait down the edge of that grass line, and dude, he just leans into this fish, right? It's just crazy. He's cranking and dude, he pulls it in. It's like a 5-pound bass, man, just big old bass. And I'm just like, oh, I was like, I want to do that. I was like, man, how did he do that? So, I start jumping on YouTube. I start searching bass fishing, bass fishing. All these videos start popping up, people on boats, people chasing bass all over the country, all over the world. And I'm just like completely immersed in this stuff. And I'm just like, man, I really want to learn how to do this. So, I got to talking to a buddy of mine that I went to college with, and he's like, bro, I fish for bass all the time. And I was like, what? He was like, yeah. And he said, man, I'll take you out. We can go fish sometime whenever you want to. I was like, bro, don't play with me. I was like, you for real bass fishing? He's like, yeah, dude. He's like, me and my pops go all the time. And I'm like, bro. So, I started telling him about the videos and all this other stuff. And I was like, man, dude, I can make videos like that. If I really want to do something like that. And he flat out, he's like, well, then do it. And I was like, you know what? I am going to do it. And I'm not joking. The very next day, I went and bought a GoPro. I went and bought me a bait caster. I went and bought an Abu Garcia Black Max reel and a Temple Fork Outfitters professional 7-foot medium heavy rod. And I started beating up the pond here in my neighborhood. Just going to the pond every single day or as often as I possibly could get over there. It took me about a month and a half to finally catch a fish. To finally get a fish on the line. And that very first fish that I got, man, that was it. That was the key to all of it. It was like, this is what I've been trying to do and trying to chase. Again, I'm filming all this stuff. I'm and the whole time, like I'm filming, and then I'll come home, and even though I didn't catch anything, I'll edit the video and I'll post it. If you go back to my very, very first YouTube videos on YouTube, when I was like heavily pond fishing, there's tons of videos out there with me not catching anything. Just literally my first video that's up there is I didn't catch a thing. And but it was about the experience, and that's something that I think that's been a major focus of mine is showing the realities of what fishing actually is through my content, because you get so many guys out here, so many people, not just guys, but so many people that are out here that fish, that fish on social media, that everything they post is a highlight reel. It's always just hook set after hook set after hook set after hook set, big fish, little fish, big fish, whatever. Oh, crazy catch. But they never show the reality that fishing is actually really hard. Fishing is not that easy. It's definitely tough. There are bad days, and it's crazy because me and Charlie talk about this all the time, but it's like, this is 100% fact, man. I've been doing this for over almost 4 years now, and I fish a lot. And every time, and I mean this, every time we go fishing or I go fishing, I backlash the heck out of my reel. And I mean, like, spool it up, crazy bird's nest. And I put that stuff in my videos. People see it, and it, in my mind, in my opinion, it makes you relatable. People can relate to that because you get people that aren't great at fishing, but they see, somebody like myself who, I'm still learning. That's one of the big things for me as well, is continuing to grow my skill set in this space. It's not always about, getting stuck on one thing and just being like, I'm there and this is it. But it makes you relatable. People can relate to that because they see a person like me that's out here, slipping and falling and, accidentally breaking a rod or, bending the heck out of a handle on your reel because you slipped and fell on it, or backlashing the crap out of your equipment. It happens. That's the reality of what fishing is. It's tough. Not catching fish, making those simple and small mistakes on the water, those big mistakes on the water that, lead to missed catches. I leave all that stuff in my videos, but at the same time, my videos tell a story. They always have a beginning, middle, and an end. There's always that start, the middle, and that resolution to, what's happening. That way, it gives people something to follow and something to learn from. And again, it also is there to inspire them, to motivate them, to go out here and try something different, look for, something new, to do when it comes to their fishing. And it does work, man. And it's not a toot on my own horn. I get the comments all the time. I get the emails, I get the DMs. I get some crazy DMs and emails from people. I get, crazy in-person interactions from people, man, that, are the most humbling things in the world to me, man, to get, people that comment and say the things that they do. that tell me how I've impacted their life in some way, shape, or form, or it's just crazy to me, man. Like, and like crazy in a good way. Like, it's just I never would have thought, 4 years ago, coming into this, that I would be in this position and making that type of impact on people's lives the way that I do. And it's an awesome feeling, man, at the end of the day. And that's something that I want to continue to do. And I think that's something that a lot of people that are in these positions like I am could take note from, is to try your best to utilize your platform and your influence. Because I hate that term influencer. I hate that term. I don't consider myself to be an influencer, even though I know that I am an influence on people. But I hate that term. But use your influence in a good way. Leave a good mark on this place. So that people can have something to look up to. Because people do look up to us at the end of the day. Go out here and make smart choices. Be a good person. Use your platform to the best of your ability. To make an impact on somebody else's life, not just your own. And that's something that I'm heavily focused on doing.
Absolutely. As someone who is famously clumsy enough that he has a learn from my mistakes segment on his podcast, I really appreciate your honesty of leaving those clumsy moments in your videos, man. It makes me feel um, a little more validated than a lot of other times.
Yeah, bro. It is crazy, man, because we always try to show the good with the bad, because where there are great days, there are bad days on the water too. Where there are bad days on the water, there are great days on the water. But there's a balance to it all, man. Is just keeping it real, man. Being authentic goes a long way in this space, man. And the thing is people see it. It's not a lot of guys that are bigger, much bigger than I am. They don't realize how quickly people see through that. That the fakeness that's on social media, because this space allows you to it allows you to easily be fake. And but people see through it. Some people don't. Some people are pretty naive about it, but real ones, they see through it. They can tell when somebody's BS and they don't really know what they're talking about. But yeah, man, it's just being authentic is something that's highly important to me. It's always something I've always been focused on, is maintaining a sense of integrity, having some morals in this space. That's another thing, is just be a good person. It ain't that hard.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. One of the Faith and Fishing shirts is a quote from a friend of mine, Lonnie Ellerby, who whenever we had our roundtable discussion on racism, he I think my question was like, how do we fight racism? Like, when it was so good, I put it on a t-shirt. He said, just make being a good person a priority.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, for sure. So I can't let you come on the Faith and Fishing podcast without doing what's your favorite. It's a segment that we do with everybody, and we're getting pretty close to your time frame. I want to make sure that you get to put your kids to bed and everything. But so let's dive into it. And to start out, I'm going to say, what's your favorite quote?
What's my favorite quote? So this year, I'm not a overly quotable person, to be honest, but there's a quote that's kind of resonated with me, through just over this last few months of getting this year started. And it's the quote that we chose to put on, this year's autism campaign t-shirt, and that's, to see the able and not the label. There's so many people out here that are affected by so many different things, whether it's, life hit them hard, whether they have some sort of disability. I'm a 100% disabled veteran, all of these different things, but, I think, the world as a whole would be a much better place if people just saw the able in people instead of, the label of people all the time. You think about, the homeless population, people are always downing, the homeless, because, they're dirty. They look, distraught and, raggedy and things like that. But they're people at the end of the day. Most of them are great people, that just fell on hard times. You think about disabled people, the same thing. These people are able to do a lot of things, but they just got stricken with, some sort of disability that limits their capacity to do certain things. And it's like, focus on the good in people, and less on the negative, stigmas that are carried by all these different things. And again, it all boils back down to just focus on being a good person. That's really what it's really about at the end of the day. If everybody just focused on being a better human, I think we as people on this ball of dirt we call Earth, would be doing a whole lot better and could be doing a whole lot better going into the future.
Man, that's powerful. That's really powerful. I thought about doing like a big fanning motion there, but knowing me, I'd knock this microphone through the window there. All right, so what's your favorite fish to catch?
Man, dude, I honestly I love catching bass. Man, I have fallen in love with this green fish. And a big reason why I chose to chase bass is because I have this mindset that, bass are an extremely smart species. While they are literally the number one chase sport fish in the entire world, definitely in the country, they are extremely smart. They're extremely adaptive. They're extremely resilient, and it takes a lot of skill to catch a bass. And truth be told, the reality behind it is I looked at it as if I can catch a bass, then I can catch anything on this planet. There's not a fish on this planet that I can't catch. If I can go out here and I can successfully target and catch largemouth bass or any bass that's in the bass species, I can basically catch anything on this planet. And I have a bucket list that's a mile long of stuff that I want to catch. And I'm going to focus on checking a lot of that stuff off, over the next few years. I'm hopefully going to check a handful of them off, here come this summer. I've already caught, obviously just the bass stuff. I've caught Guadalupe bass. That's a bass that's indigenous to a specific area of South Texas, South and Central Texas. We did this huge Guadalupe River trip where the Guadalupe bass lives, and thrives. We went down there and we told this epic story, camped on the river. We did like 16 miles of this river over 3 days and caught Guadalupe bass. That's what we chased. We chased the guads and, we caught them. Awesome fish, man. Crazy fighting fish. And that fish is no bigger than your cell phone, man. Just little bitty fish, but crazy fighter. We did a trip up to Oklahoma last year or the year before last to the Little River. And, we thought in the moment we were catching smallmouth bass, but they ended up being just ridiculously crazy spotted bass. And, obviously caught tons of largemouth bass and things like that. But, like I haven't checked a smallmouth off my list yet. I've had opportunities. I've been in places where they thrive and live, just haven't caught one. Oklahoma, we just got back from Broken Bow. They live up there. We didn't catch any. There's smallmouth here in Texas in certain lakes. Just haven't caught one yet. My home lake that I grew up on, Belton, Texas, Belton Lake has smallmouth in it. Never caught one. But then there's other, big, even more crazier species that I love to catch. I would love to catch a freaking giant 50-inch muskie. I'd love to go out to like Tennessee and, fish the river out there and, stick a huge muskie, or even go up north and get one, a pike or a muskie. I'll take either one of them. I'll take a chain pickerel at this point. I would love to go and, chase a sturgeon. That's another fish that I would love to catch. We're going down we're going out to Florida in July. So, I'm going to, potentially knock off peacock bass. That's been a fish that's been on the top of my bucket list for a really long time. We're also going to do some brackish water, saltwater fly fishing as well. So that's another big thing about me. Again, always improving on the skill set, always growing the skill set. I'm not focused on just one type of fishing, thinking about it from the conventional side of the house, conventional fishing. I want to be the best angler I can possibly be. So I dabble in a little bit of everything. Fly fishing, that's something that I picked up and I absolutely love fly fishing. It's something I never would have thought in a million years that I'd be like, dude, this is actually fun. Like fly fishing is a lot of fun. I even got Charlie hooked on fly fishing. I got him his first fly combo not too long ago, and this dude is all about it, man. There's a creek over by his house. He always takes his kids down in. We shot a creeker series, one of the series videos over there in that creek. Caught a ton of fish out of that thing, man, and on the fly. But it's all about again just growing and again being the best angler I can possibly be, because again it's easy to be fake in this space. Cameras, smoke and mirrors, all that kind of stuff make you look like Muhammad Ali in the ring, when you're really not that great, and it's like, I don't want to be that guy, that I want to be a great angler at the end of the day. And that's another reason why, I fish competitively, because, that gives me an opportunity to solidify my skill set. If I can go out here and fish in a tournament and I can put 5 fish in the boat on a lake that I've never been to against the best talent in the state, that means something, that means something not only to me, but other people as well. I'm not just this social media, personality that can't actually fish at the end of the day. I really can fish, I'll fish circles around a lot of people, but awesome. Man, it's just a lot of fun, man.
And what about your favorite fish to fish for? Is that the same answer?
Oh yeah, my bad. I completely got sidetracked on that. So yeah, I love chasing bass, man. Bass is my favorite fish, man. It's primarily just been because that's probably just one of the main species that I've really caught over the last few years. I think once I really start to venture out and actually start catching some other species, like I said, I mean, once we get to Florida and I get down here and get into this saltwater stuff, the flats, not really like out deep big blue stuff. I don't mess with big blue. That's too much water. At least on a kayak it is. But when we get down here and start chasing redfish and all these other little flat backwater species, tarpon and bonefish and all the other kind of little stuff that's out there, it's gonna be a different experience, and I think that it's gonna open my eyes to a lot more things that I might be like, man, dude, I need to start doing this more. I need to start heading down to the Texas Gulf Coast a lot more often.
For sure.
Because I got buddies down there that always like, man, you need to get down here, get on these redfish, man. You need to get on these reds. You're like, bro, I'm coming. Just give me some time. You're gonna get down here and you ain't never gonna want to come back. You'll never want to go back to doing anything else. And I was like, nah, I don't believe that. But yeah, man.
I hear you. What about your favorite fish to eat?
Favorite fish to, bro? Bass. Largemouth bass are absolutely delicious. I know that may sound taboo to a lot of people. Me and Charlie eat a lot of bass. So, people, we've caught crappie, we've caught bluegill, we've caught catfish, all these other different freshwater fish. And no joke, I mean, we've eaten spotted bass, we've eaten, we've eaten friggin' largemouth bass. I'd eat a smallmouth if I caught one too. So normally, whenever we go camping, like me and Charlie do our big trips and stuff like that, we're camping, so we're basically catching and we're cooking. So we'll go out, we'll fish all day long, we'll catch a few, take them back to camp, clean them, and we'll make like fish tacos or whatever, but we're typically catching and cooking, eating and cooking what we catch. So dude, like I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure that I can't even remember the last time when I was a kid that I had even eaten largemouth bass. So whenever we started, when this whole bass fishing thing started with me and Charlie went on a trip, and we caught a bunch of bass, and we freaking cooked them up, man. I put them on the grill, we pan fried some, and they were absolutely delicious. And people be like, "You're eating bass? Like, are you crazy?" Like, man, people went nuts over that junk, and I'm just like, bro, like you're supposed to eat these anyway, like.
Yeah,
that's why they have limits set on them, because if you don't eat them, they're just going to overpopulate and fill up the lakes, and there'll be a million little bitty 2-inch fish in the water, 14-inch bass everywhere. You're never going to get any big ones in there. Like, no, you ain't supposed to eat no bass. Blah, blah, blah. I was like, y'all are crazy. I'm going to eat bass. I don't care. We cook them up. They get ate.
Absolutely. I'm a big fan of fried bass myself.
Man, dude, it's so good, man. This is like one of the freshest tasting fish. Literally, I like it more than crappie, and I've had crappie. Like my dad, he's a big crappie fan, so he's like, "No, I want some crappie." Blah blah, blah. It's like, crappie has like a sweeter taste to it, but man, bass is like, no kidding, dude. It's like a super fresh tasting fish, man. Very, very light, and just it's all around just a really, really good tasting fish.
I say that I like crappie better, but I think if I had like a blind taste test, I wouldn't be able to tell which one was which.
Yeah, I can definitely tell the difference in them. Crappie has a little bit different of a texture to it than bass does, but flavor-wise, I definitely prefer bass over crappie. That's just
Okay. Since we're talking about food and getting all hungry and everything, what's your favorite fishing snack?
favorite fishing snack, man, dude. So I have these like fig bars my wife gets from Costco. There's like a raspberry, mixed berry, and like a blueberry. It comes like a purple pack, a red pack, pink pack, and then a blue pack. Dude, me and Charlie demolish those things when we're out on the water. I usually have like 10, 15 packs of them things with me. I just have a big old gallon size Ziploc bag and put a bunch of individuals in there because there's 2 to a pack basically. Dude, those things are good, man. But you gotta be drinking some water with them things because they will choke you up. Like they suck all the moisture out of your mouth, but they are delicious.
Those are similar to like the Nutri-Grain bars.
Almost like the Nutri-Grain bars, just a little bit more dense to them. They're not as soft and chewy as a fig bar or a Nutri-Grain bar, but they're similar to that. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, so I'm not going to ask you to give away too many secrets. I don't need GPS coordinates or anything, but what's your favorite body of water to fish?
Favorite body of water to fish, man? Oh, that's a really good question. So we have so many that are favorites.
Y'all got all the famous ones.
Dude, there's so many bodies of water out here, man. Like I'll be straight up with you. Like I've only been able to fish this lake twice, but the only reason I've only been able to fish it twice is because it's 7 hours away from me. But this is a lake that, no kidding you, if this lake was closer to me, I'd be at it every single weekend. I love this lake so much, man. It's Choke Canyon in South Texas. I actually that was the lake that I had the issue with the DQ because my hands were so big. Dude, I just actually fished that lake back in February this year, or actually last month. Man, that lake is so awesome, man. There is so much diversity on that body of water. There's humongous fish in there. It's just so much wildlife out there, man. It's just a really, really cool lake to fish. That has to be by far my favorite lake to fish. And again, I've only been able to fish it twice, and it sucks that it's so far away because if it was closer, I would absolutely be at that thing every single weekend. But I love that lake, man. That's like my number one lake. That if I ever got the opportunity to fish it, and if somebody's like, hey, you want to go to Choke Canyon this weekend? We're gonna stay down there, go camping. Dude, let's go.
Absolutely. And this next question, it's hard for me to ask because I tune into your lives every now and then, and you get asked this question every single time. What's your favorite lure to throw?
Man, favorite lure to throw. Favorite lure right now to throw. It's definitely a crankbait. I'm really, really in tune with the DT series, the Rapala DT series. So this last tournament I just got back from this weekend, I was out fishing offshore and caught a nice bass off of a giant laydown that's out in like 20 feet of water. Just this huge, just like 200-foot tall tree that's just laid over on the bottom of the lake, man. Just huge tree. And so I'm like, it's ripping wind out there on this lake. It's like 30-mile-per-hour gusts. So it's rolling. So I'm kicking back down, and I'm scanning, on my side scan, just kind of looking to see what the bottom is looking like. And I see this giant laydown, just huge. So I mark it and I turn over there towards it, scan over the top of it. I see a few marks down there on it. So it's like, all right, there's fish on it. So I go all the way to the end of the tree where basically the root system is, and I'm basically pointing. So the stern of my boat is into the wind. Bow of the boat is going with the wind. So I'm facing basically the same direction that the tree is laying in the water. And so I drop my anchor off the stern to keep my boat in position. And I pick up the DT16 in a green gizzard color. I freaking bomb this thing out there. I'm talking a 200-yard cast, bro. Because the wind is blowing that direction, so it takes it. It's gone. It's just gone. It hits the water. I start cranking it down, cranking it down, cranking it down, cranking it down. I'm just rolling it back, rolling it back. Then all of a sudden, it's just this huge thump, just thump. I'm just like, oh, that's a fish right there. So I'm cranking it in, cranking it up, pull it up. 18 3/4 inch bass, just nice kayak bass. And then, so I do my thing, get it measured, submit it, all that stuff, let it go. Literally the next cast, bomb another one out there. Same tree, same lay down, everything. Cranking it back. Not a big thump, but I feel a thump, boom. And then it just like stops. So I was like, crap, I'm hung up. So I'm like, I'm trying to jar it loose, popping my line, trying to get the crankbait loose and all this other stuff. I was like, golly, man, I don't want to lose this crankbait. So, I pull my anchor up and I kind of, just let the wind kind of drift me towards it. So I'm still cranking down on it as I'm getting closer. And basically I drift past it to where I can like pull my crankbait off of it from the back end because it basically got hung up between the tree limbs. Crank it all the way to the top, man. It's a giant, like 17-inch crappie on there. It was huge crappie. And I'm talking straight dinner plate. And so I'm like, oh, crappie. So I'm like trying to boat flip the thing into the kayak, but it's like the crappie is like laying on top of the water, crankbait is right next to it, and I'm trying to boat flip it, and it's not even moving. So I'm like, what is going on? So I'm like, I pull really, really hard, lift up, and then I see that it's like wrapped up in some fishing line. Like I had like caught someone's random fishing line at 20 feet of water. So I'm like, golly, how did that happen? So I grab my net and I'm like trying to break the line with my net, so I push on it real hard and the line finally pops. But my crankbait and the crappie are hanging on the outside of my net. They're not inside the net. So I'm, bringing the net over to the front of the kayak. And as soon as I get it right over the top of my kayak, the crappie jumps and gets loose off the crankbait and falls back in the water. So I was like, you butthole. Because he was sure as heck going on the stringer. I was going to take him home. Yeah, I'm big fan of the crankbait right now, man. That's been something that I've been throwing a lot. I think, again, with the competitive fishing that I've been doing, it's really changed how I fish. Even just fishing for fun and things like that. I've really, really gotten dialed in on finding fish really, really quickly, using baits that allow me to do that, allow me to cover a lot of water really quickly. And then once I find the fish, I can kind of lock down on them, and then I can slow down presentations and kind of, weed through the packs and pick up the bigger fish. So, I'm usually starting out with a crankbait of some sort, whether it's a DT6 up to like a DT10 for, my medium to shallow diving stuff. And from there, I'm up in the deep ones, man, 14 to 20 footers. So, yeah.
Awesome. And last but not least, man, what's your favorite time of year to fish?
Year round, bro. Fishing here in Texas is 100% year round. And it's crazy because I didn't used to be like that. So I used to, whenever I first started doing this stuff, when I really first started getting into bass fishing, I really would only fish on like the good days. I would typically fish in the summertime, spring, late spring, and then summer. A little bit in the fall, and I would never fish in the wintertime. And just because, it sucks. It really does. Like the weather gets really crappy here, especially when you get to like January time frame. Like that's whenever it like gets real cold in Texas. And that's whenever we get like those weird one-off, snowstorms and, crazy freezes and all kinds of crazy stuff. And then literally like from basic March to like early May, it's just dumping rain for 3 months. It's just nonstop dumping rain. So, but now, bro, I'm out there. I don't care. Rain, sleet, shine, freezing cold. Bro, I'm out there. Like you say, let's go fishing. Let's go. Because, bro, I have caught some of the biggest fish of my life on the worst days on the water. There's not a time of year that I will not go out and fish, man. Like I'm a big fan of fishing year round, man. Like, the winter time is actually becoming a favorite time of mine to fish, because I hate being cold. I despise the cold. I would much rather be on literal fire than be cold, because you can't escape it. People are like, oh man, I love the cold. I was like, no, because it doesn't matter how many layers you put on. If there is one crack in that cold air is going to find its way in that crack and it's going to find its way to touch you. And I don't like that. I'd rather be hot, sweaty, and on fire than be cold.
I hear you. I run really hot, and I have to disagree with you on that one.
Mm.
There's only so much I can take off.
Yeah, man. But yeah, I'm a big fan of fishing year round, man. Here in Texas, man, it's the fishing is great basically year round. In the summertime it does get a little tough because it's usually not as windy. You get a lot of slick, calm days, and obviously those slick, calm days basically just suck for fishing in general. But yeah, and then on top of that, you mix in it's 105, 110 degrees. That also makes it a little unbearable. But I mean, you go to the right places, man. On the right days, you can make it happen for real.
I hear you. All right, man. Well, we're going to start wrapping things up. If you would let us know what is coming up next for that bass fishing dude.
Next up for that bass fishing dude is we got some videos dropping. So the Oklahoma trip will be going live over the next few weeks. It's a 3-part series. Those videos will be dropping May. I got another tournament coming up, so I'll be fishing another place that I've never been to. June we'll have the Autism TBFD Gang Autism Day on the Water, where we'll be introducing the organization to another day of paddle sports and fishing again. And then July I'll be going out to ICAST, man, out in Orlando, Florida. So I'll be out in Florida for a week, hanging out and fishing all over the place and hanging out with people. So
awesome. And I want to make sure that you get an open floor to shout out any sponsors, supporters, anybody you want to say thank you to and give a spotlight to.
Yeah, man, absolutely, man. I just want to give a humongous shout out to everybody that is supporting, me, that bass fishing dude, the TBFD gang, all that stuff. I want to thank everybody that has supported this autism awareness campaign over the last 3 years, including this year. You guys are absolutely awesome. I'm overly appreciative that you guys give me the opportunity to give back to my community in the way that you do. And I look forward to doing this year after year after year and growing this and making this as big as humanly possible. So thank you to everybody out there that has been supporting me with this autism campaign and basically everything that I do, man, because again, I'm really, really grateful for it.
Absolutely. And did you want to shout out sponsors, brand partners, all that good stuff?
Oh, shouts out to everybody. They know who they are. They rock with me. They know I rock with them. So I don't have to mention anybody by name. But I do want to thank you, man, for allowing me to come on the podcast, man, and hang out with you tonight, man. Definitely.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for coming on. And before I let you go, if you wouldn't mind shouting out YouTube channel, social media, your live streams, all that good stuff. Where can people follow your adventures?
Yeah, man. You can follow my adventures on Instagram, YouTube. It's that bass fishing dude basically everywhere. It's on Facebook. You can just type it in on Google, and 1,000,001 things will pop up with that bass fishing dude attached to it. So, yeah, man, we got a lot of really cool stuff going on, man. We put out great videos every single month, seeking and chasing adventures, and hopefully it inspires you to get out there and seek and chase those adventures that exist around you as well.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate your time and had a blast. And you said earlier that you felt like you weren't really a quotable guy, but I'm going to be quoting this one for a long time. So, and that is like I said, this was a little bit different episode. So that is y'all make sure to check the links in the show notes. That's going to do it for this episode. Y'all take care and God bless. With 30 years of experience of handcrafting lures under his belt, Mr. B of Mr. B Lure Company is making high-quality spinnerbaits, buzzbaits, jigs, underspins, swim blades, and more right here in the U.S. All of his skirts are hand-tied, and all of his baits feature a baked-on powder paint, all metal components, and only Owner and Gamakatsu hooks. All of his baits come in a variety of colors, and if you purchase a bait in the Battle Shad color, 30% of the proceeds go to the Wounded Warrior Project. To see the quality for yourself, go to MrBLureCompany.com, that's MRBLureCompany.com, to place your order and use promo code faithnfishn POD1X10 at checkout to save 10% on your first order.